We are over halfway through marathon training, so let's get into it. Firstly, welcome back to my channel, welcome back to another video. Today we are going to get into how marathon training has been so far. Are you ready? Yeah? Okay. So we're over halfway into marathon training now. I think there's about 9 weeks. I'll correct myself if I'm wrong. 9 weeks to go until the marathon. So I'm running the Manchester Marathon at the end of April. My first ever marathon, my first time training for a marathon. The longest I had run prior to this was a half marathon run. So it has been a challenge. I can't believe how quickly the training has gone, and I can't believe how much I've enjoyed it. I genuinely thought it was going to be such a slog. Like I think I was quite nervous like going into it, and I was worried about how I was going to cope. I sometimes don't think that I'm very mentally strong, especially when things get tough. And I just wasn't sure how I was gonna deal with all of it. There's so much to it. There's the running, there's the eating. The eating is such a big part of marathon training, and getting that right, fueling right, hydrating right. So there's a lot of different parts to it. Not to scare you off if you're someone that hasn't done a marathon before, I would genuinely, I've still got 8 or 9 weeks to go, but in my current state of mind, I would genuinely recommend everyone signing up to run a marathon and training for a marathon, because it's a mental challenge, and I don't know, it's this constant thing of like, on the one hand you're thinking there's no way I can do this run, there's no way I can run that far, there's no way I can run for that long, and then you do it, and then you get on to the next run and you think the same. You're like, there's no way that I, like that run that I did, the 15-mile run I did, that was a struggle, there's no way I can do 16, and then you do it. And then in my case I had an 18-mile the week after I'd done my 16-mile run, and I was like, absolutely no way, like how am I going to do this? And that run I was so nervous for. Like, I think I was more nervous to do that than I had been before any race, because it's I don't know, it's such a big, it feels like a big step up, even though it's not, because it's only 2 miles more than the run that I'd done the week before. And obviously, like 18 miles won't be the longest that I do, but just as an example. So yeah, I think I'm very lucky that I have got someone coaching me. I've got a few people really helping me, coaching me through it. My friend's dad I've got a plan, that I've had from the beginning, because otherwise I think I would have been a bit lost. I think I mentioned in, one of my videos before that there's apps and stuff if you are someone looking to get into training for a marathon. There are plenty of apps. He just wants to be in on it as well. And I think also the most mental thing about it has been long runs becoming short runs. So running, say, 8 miles in the week, when 8 miles was the distance that I'd be running when I was as a long run for, say, a half marathon then. So it's pretty mental. It's pretty mental, and it is also mental. Like, it's mental in the sense of, this is bonkers that our bodies can adapt like this. Can you see the birds? And it's also mental in the sense of fighting your brain. Your brain is trying to tell you there's no way you can do this, and you're proving that brain wrong by showing up for yourself and doing the run. I think the one thing I've learned is the importance of fueling right and eating the right foods, hydrating like properly, and then also having a proper kind of routine when you're on your run. So at the start of when I started running and was training for a half marathon, I mean, up until recently, to be honest, I say this, but up until recently, when I was on a long run, I would only drink water once I started to feel thirsty. And by that point, it's pointless because you're not going to rehydrate yourself. Also, what's been so fun is he has started coming out on, not my long runs, but anything less than like 5 or 6 miles, which has been so fun. So he comes out with me, not every single run and not every single week, but like this week he came out on my 5 mile run. So it's just fun, and I love running with him because it breaks up the training. I think the other thing as well is training with people makes such a difference, even if they're only there for a part of the run. Just having like that bit of interaction, that bit of distraction, hair up my nose, that just makes the miles go so much quicker. Like I noticed it when I did the 18 miles the other day. I noticed it, but on that run I did actually listen to the Two Hot Takes podcast. So they basically they must have their own sort of Reddit channel, and then people post questions looking for advice in that channel and like stories, and then they'll discuss these questions and stories and what's happened and, you know, what their opinion is of it and stuff like that. So I was listening to that on that run, and that was actually a really good distraction because they're long podcasts as well. I think I literally listened to like 1.5. So I think the important thing is finding different ways to keep yourself entertained and distracted on these long runs. Some people, and I would genuinely love to know how, some people can do these runs without any headphones, nothing, no company, and I just applaud those people because I could never. I've got to have at least some music. I can just about do a run with Max with no music. Obviously I can't, because he's like wanting to dart off after the birds and the squirrels. There's no way that I could sit there. There's no way I could run and listen to music with him. It would just be too much. But like I weirdly enjoy actually doing the runs with him with no music and just taking everything in. But yeah, I want to say overall it's been a really good 11 weeks of training. I feel extremely lucky to be in this position. How well it's gone so much better than I thought. I've handled it a lot better than I thought I would. Turns out I'm a lot stronger mentally than I thought I was. And it's just such a big achievement, honestly. It's pushing your body and actually seeing where your body can take you is just nuts, and how your body adapts. Like, I know I keep saying it, but how your body adapts, it's just incredible. Honestly, it just is. I would say, obviously, and people say this, like marathon training takes up a lot of your time. It's tiring. It is a lot of work, and it is a lot of work. It's a lot of effort. It's tiring. There's runs that you don't want to do. Like, not every single run I get up and think, yes, like, buzzing for this run. No. Apart from my 10 miles on Saturday, because this week is a deload week. But yeah, even the runs where you're doing it, and they will happen, you'll have many of them where you're doing the runs and you're thinking, why on earth did I sign up for this? Like, why am I choosing to put myself through this? Even those runs, you get to the end of them and you just feel amazing, and you just forget how hard it was because you're just you have this like big elation and such a huge sense of accomplishment that you forget that you were really struggling the whole way through. Even when I think back on my 18-mile run that I did on Saturday, like this was recent, that was a struggle from, I want to say from start to finish, but as in, I know that it was, but when I try and actually think about it and think about how difficult it was, I can't really, because the feeling at the end of when I finished it and I'd done those 18 miles was so much greater than how I felt throughout, and I don't really know how to, if me putting that into words makes any sense whatsoever, but I hope I hope you're following me. And yeah, it's just, I think I'm gonna miss, maybe I'll eat my words, but I feel like I'm gonna miss marathon training when it's over, because it's like a push and reward system, and you're building up these miles, your fitness is increasing because you're building up these miles. My pace has gotten better, not necessarily on the longer runs, but on my shorter runs I'm noticing, my shorter long runs, I'm noticing that my pace is a lot better, my heart rate matching that pace is a lot better. So yeah, my overall review halfway through marathon training is sign up for a marathon. Why not? Like, I don't think anybody, before they sign up for a marathon, I don't think anybody sits there and thinks, yeah, I'll smash that. Like, as in their first ever marathon, never run a marathon before. Nobody sits there and thinks, yeah, I'll smash that at the park. Everyone signs up and kind of relies on this sense of delusion, is my take on it. This sense of delusion that, see how it goes. And you just keep seeing how it goes until eventually, I hope, you get to that start line and you run the race. And it turns out taking a chance on yourself, believing in yourself, was worth it. I know I shouldn't be speaking too soon because I've still got a good chunk of training to do, but right now I feel really good. I feel really grateful. Just, there's nothing, all I can complain about is the tiredness, the sore muscles, that's it. Like, I genuinely, I don't know, I just feel really grateful, I think, to be doing it, to be training for it, to be pushing my body and to be seeing the rewards for it. As I said, I feel like I'm painting a picture of very much like, this is so easy and, you know, everything goes really well. Like, no, it's not easy and not every run goes well. I have so many runs. The 18-mile one, after halfway, I was trying to work out, okay, if I wanted to just stop and just finish this run, how am I going to get home? I was genuinely going through in my head, I was like, how am I going to get home? Because I've had enough of this run and I want to stop. So I had that on that run. I had, was it an 8-mile run, I think? Yeah, it must have been an 8-mile, and I got, me and halfway points have obviously got a bit of a problem, but I got to 4 miles of that run and I was like, I'm sick of this, I was getting angry. I needed the toilet and I was getting angry about that. And then I finished the run and I forgot all about that and I was like, okay, on to the next one. So I'm not trying to paint a picture of like, you know, this is the easiest thing, because no, this is probably the hardest thing I've ever done yet. I have, you know, I'm sure there are other hard things to come in my life, but so far this has got to be the hardest mental and physical challenge that I've put myself through. But it's worth it, is like, that's all I can say. I just feel like it's such an experience, and so many of us, like myself included, we underestimate our capabilities, and we sort of, I feel like we're capable of this, but we keep the kind of the ceiling here. We don't let ourselves get to see that, if I don't know. It's like, I don't know, maybe like a 2-story building, and the first floor we think, oh, we can't go any higher than this floor, this is it. But actually there's a floor up here, and maybe even a floor up there, of all the things that we're capable of. We've just got to give ourselves the opportunity to see it, and to try it. Without getting too deep, like, life is so short, and I'm not saying if you have no interest in running or running a marathon, no, I don't think you should sign up for a marathon. But I mean, like, I just think if there is something that you think, oh, I'd love to do that, and you often think, oh, there's no way I could do that, do it. Like, do it. Just sign yourself up for the challenge. What's the worst that could happen? What's the best that could happen? That's something I'm trying to refocus myself on, is what's the best that could happen if I just give this a go. When you try something out, I don't think there is such thing as failure. And failure is only proof that you've tried. So failure is better than believing that your capabilities are here and not trying to push to that second floor. So, yeah. I am enjoying marathon training. It's hard, but I'm weirdly enjoying it. I think I'm just more grateful, and I don't want to jinx myself, so I'm not going to go too into it, because I don't want to say, oh, I'm grateful because this hasn't happened and this is going on, and I no. I do not want to jinx myself, but I am just very grateful. It's a very privileged position to be in, to get to train for something like this. And I think there's a part of me that thought I wouldn't be able to stick it out. I don't know. I think there was something in me somewhere that was like, okay, we'll sign up for it and we'll tell everyone that we've signed up for it, but we might get to a point where we're like, no, can't be bothered not doing it. I don't want to do it anymore. Like, there was something in my brain that thought like, I don't think you're going to do this. I don't think you're actually going to stick to your word. So I think every week that I show up and stick to my word, there is like a sense of pride, and I'm like, oh, okay, we are actually doing this. We're still going. So yeah, that kind of, without going on too much more, that is my summary and experience of marathon training so far. I think what I will say is give yourself a base to start on. So I was at the point where I was kind of up to half marathon distance. So then when I started going further than that, it did feel like a jump, but it also didn't. Like, the first half marathon that I did as a training run was weird, because I was like, this is the distance that I spent ages training to run. So it is weird, and I'm not trying to, like, a half marathon is a long distance at the end of the day, but I think having that as my base and building from that has made the training a lot smoother and hasn't felt like such a huge jump, and it's just kind of adding a couple of miles on as the weeks go on. Definitely recommend having a training plan in place and somebody that knows what they're doing, you know, whether that's a coach or an app that you can get, like a kind of a training plan catered to you. But yeah, I do recommend having that as your base, because I sort of started then, I knew that I could do the half marathon because I'd done plenty of races, so then it was just building up from that distance. And as I said, it wasn't jumping from a half marathon one week to 18 miles the next. It's been, I think the first half marathon training run I did was the middle of January, and I mean, what are we on now? The 20th of February, so there was I reckon there was at least about 4 weeks in between that and then building up to the 18 as an example of like, yeah. And I don't think you should be just jumping up a distance. I do think you add it up slowly. I think I'm going to round it up here. So thank you for watching. Let me know if you're training for a marathon or want to train for a marathon or a half marathon or anything. A triathlon, an Ironman. Fair play, I could not do a triathlon. And I know I just said to you, if you're saying you can't do it, do it. But like, no, I genuinely could not. I just, no, don't want to. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Obviously, I've got my weekly vlogs that come out every week, usually on a Sunday, so have a look out for those. Feel free to subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.